Doug, tell me a little bit, what is modular building?
Modular building is where about 80% of the house from the sill plate up is built in a factory. And it's built in about 5 days and then shipped to the site. And then the balance of the work is done on site by a builder, dealer, or a contractor.
And how does it differ from conventional building?
It differs in terms of the time it takes to build, first of all. It's much less. Secondly, it has better quality control because it is built inside a factory building, so it's out of the weather, and there would be greater precision. There are jig templates and then machine tools that give you that better finished product.
And what are the benefits of modular building versus conventional?
Yeah, you get more accurate construction. You can get higher insulation value. It's quicker erection time. There'll be some cost savings. Generally speaking, these are built in areas where some of the labor is much cheaper, and then shipped from states outside of the big cities, into areas that labor is more costly. So that's where the potential savings is.
And how much less expensive is modular buildings versus conventional buildings?
Well, apples to apples, there's probably a 30% savings if you were to take the equivalent portion of the house that's built in the factory and compare it to the equivalent portion that is built on site. However, that does get diluted some, which is because the site work is still going to be the same, i.e. the foundation, the septic, you still have builder profit overhead, you've got some of the exterior finishes that give it the style, so that'll be diluted down to 10 to 15% versus site built. And
how much faster is it to have a modular house built versus conventional house?
As I said before, it only takes 5 days to build the house in the factory, and that's that portion that's about 80% complete. However, the total turnkey will take several months, and that can sometimes be half or less than half of what it takes to build a conventional house.
Now tell me a little bit about, you said the quality is often better. What do you mean by that?
Well, you've got redundant framing systems because it has to be shipped, and they have to be self-supporting in its transit so that you have a stronger building by default. You have shear walls every either 14 or 16 feet on center. From a seismic standpoint, from a wind loading standpoint, they're much stronger. And they are foam bonded. If you take, for instance, the ceiling systems, they use oversized pieces of gypsum board, so you don't have any butt-end seams. Then they use a foam bonding, so you have a perfectly flat wall and ceiling system. So those are just some examples of some of the benefits.
Now, a lot of critics and even consumers think of modular homes as boring and unattractive. Is this still the case?
No, there's always been a great potential for this. It's just the business model hasn't really caught up with the technology. They're running off an old model that grew out of the trailer home business, where they kind of left the architect out of the process. They designed the product in-house at a loss lead because they would make the design development on the back end through the sale of the product. Now that's fine for a simple double-wide ranch or trailer home, but now that they've increased the capabilities and they can build large homes, 6,000 to 7,000 square feet, you got to bring the architect back in to the process. And we also do the stylizing, which they really don't address that well. They only deal with the planometrics and the shell, but there's a lot more to architecture than just the volume of space. You have to stylize it, and the architect's best suited for that.
Can a modular home be custom designed?
Yes, and we recommend that people start with the architect first. With that, they benefit from the ability to competitively bid. They get a finished product, or they get results that are going to have a higher resale value, rather than just a bunch of boxes put together and vinyl siding stapled on them. You have a solution that is truly stylized. There's so many different vernaculars of architecture. There's Georgian, there's Victorian, there's Mediterranean, so on and so forth, and all of these can be stylized, just as if a fashion designer would, design you and with your clothing. The same goes for architecture, and that's what we really offer.
What kinds of materials can be specified?
Almost anything, just like you would on a conventionally built house. We can specify the highest end finish and fixtures, such as marble and granite and high-end hardware, down to the middle range. It really depends on what price target, what style of architecture that you want. We can do multi-million-dollar homes modular, or we can do very simple cottages, vacation cottages. So.
And are there any size limitations?
No, it can be from the smallest 800 square foot home that we have in our archives of designs, all the way up to 10,000 or more square feet. There's really no limit.
Now, do modular homes have basements?
Yes. As I mentioned, there's the concept of the sill plate, which is the building from the sill plate up versus what's below that. And what's below that can almost be anything, with the exception of a slab. But you can have a crawl space, you can have a full basement, you can have, it can be added on to an existing home, so that, so long as there's a firm foundation or there's a firm structure, it can be set on almost anything. For instance, we're doing a beach house, and that's being put on piles, so it can be placed anywhere.
Does Cutler Architecture have designs already in a book or available to buy to start the process?
Yes, we have almost 100 designs featured online. We have more than that here at our office. And then, of course, we can do custom designs. We can also take some of the existing designs we already have archived and modify them. And we've done many instances or many projects that we've done just that, where we've modified these existing designs to suit the customer's needs.
And when a modular home is shipped, where is it shipped from and how is it shipped?
Well, it's shipped from a factory. Typically, in our market, it might be 200 miles, and there's a rule of thumb that within 500 to 700 mile shipping radius is still okay, and it's brought to the site. Then the contractor gets a crane, and he or she will set that on a foundation or on any suitable structure that I just spoke about. And that's done within a day or two, and it made watertight, and then that takes a lot of risk out of the building process, especially if it's a vacation home or retirement home that may be far away from their primary residence. That's a big advantage right there.
When a modular home is shipped, what is left to do after that?
What's left to do is some of the plumbing tie-in down to your sewer or septic. You have to connect the plumbing and electric between the marriage lines or between the marriage seams, because that has to be hooked up. There might be some miscellaneous finish and fixture on the interior, particularly on the floor finishes, because the tile has to be carried over the marriage lines, these imaginary seams. Then the exterior needs to be addressed. That's where the most work has to be done in terms of trim and porches and porticos and all of the accoutrements that create the style of architecture that we intended.